It is Tuesday, March 14th. Next week, we're heading to California to start our American road trip. Anyway, so we thought in this video we just, before we actually start the road trip, we give you an idea of what our actual route is. A lot of you have been asking also kind of like how we planned all of this, how we're gonna be managing with a dog. Also just what we're excited about and if we have any tips for anyone else wanting to plan something similar. For me, it's always been a big dream to do this road trip. I've done one actually with my family when I was a teenager, but I knew I wanted to do something like that later on in life again with like my own little family. We're gonna be in the US for like 3 months. We just quit our jobs. I think the benefit that we have there is that neither, which is also a bad thing, but also a benefit in this case, that neither Alexis nor I particularly cared for the job that we had. It's fairly easy to find jobs in our industries again, so we're not like super attached to that. So we can just be like, bam, I don't want you anymore. And we have been saving and prioritizing this. So this is our route. We start in LA, we end in LA, we go as far as New Orleans. We're gonna be checking off some of the major national parks. The annoying thing is here that most national parks are very restrictive when it comes to pets. The good thing is that a lot of times national parks have national forests next to them, which are also super beautiful and are much more pet friendly. So a lot of research went into what is possible with a dog and how can we make it as comfortable as possible for her. Initially we had like this whole bigger itinerary that also included like Detroit and Chicago and Nashville, but we had to be a bit realistic. The US is like an insanely expensive country and a really big country, so we cut down on some of that.
Yeah, so I think like the first thing is like map out what you would want your trip to be and then be realistic and start like kind of ticking off places that maybe aren't like that important or just not going to work out on this trip.
Obviously we tried to plan this trip on a budget as much as possible.
A lot of ramen packets.
Biggest expense is gonna be accommodation.
And of course the car.
We're gonna be camping some of the times, which is cheaper, and sometimes it's hopefully gonna be free if it works out. And
motels.
We also booked some accommodation through a site called Hip Camp that has more like interesting camping style, glamping, etc. accommodation.
Of course, I really enjoy camping. Lilian's a little wishy-washy with camping.
I like camping, I'm just terrified at night.
Big shout out to Climate because they sent us some really amazing gear for us to use for this trip, such as, of course, the most important, a tent, a sleeping bag, underneath a nice like a little spongy cushion for us so we're extra comfortable. We also have a nice tube light, some little travel pots and pans.
1 or 2 good outfits for kind of like each climate. So you're gonna be seeing us in a lot of the same clothes. In terms of miso, we have a little dog harness and seat belt for her so that she's gonna be safely secured in the back seat.
So what would you say you're the most excited for?
The variety of the nature. Like we're gonna be spending some time in Utah and Arizona. That's so different from anything we have in Europe because it's more like desert. Super excited to see Washington State, all the beautiful nature there. Seattle, I'm a huge Nirvana Kurt Cobain fan, so we're also gonna be passing by some Kurt Cobain spots.
Yeah, Lilian even wanted to go to the motel where Kurt would like shoot up his heroin.
Okay, they don't need to know that. I never got to see the redwoods because when I was there with my family, all the accommodation was filled up. Learned from that mistake, so we're gonna be spending some time there, so I'm super excited about that. Yellowstone Park, of course, but what I also really am excited for is like the small towns that aren't in the guidebooks. I'm really fascinated in visiting the south of the US, like Louisiana. We're gonna be doing a swamp tour.
When it comes to cities, I'm really looking forward to seeing like Portland, Oregon. I've never been to Joshua Tree, so that's like a pretty big one for me. Slab City.
That's gonna be our first stop.
Yeah, where I'm really excited to stop at like little diners And like small little places like on the way, like these like mom and pop places. It looks so cool, and I want to feel like I'm like Velma and Louise. Without the bad ending, obviously.
And without the murder.
Yeah, without the murder.
And attempted rape. Thank God we have Miso to protect us. She takes her job as a guard dog very seriously, and honestly I do feel much safer knowing we'll have her. We will be getting some like pepper spray or bear mace or whatever the difference is as well. I tried hard to avoid Oklahoma, Iowa, and Nebraska and all those states. I did a lot of research on what the most boring states are, and those were like the top contenders.
Well, all I gotta say is stay tuned, get ready, buckle up.
So we're gonna be vlogging the whole thing. Make sure that those subscription notifications are on so you're gonna be alerted when we put out a new video. And we'll see you when we're in California.
California. Oh, I need to add that to our road trip playlist. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.
Cheers!
Cheers!